go. This week on the Big Show, summer has arrived and we'll take a look at the movies that hopefully will get people back in theaters this season. Wilson Morales and Charles Kirkland will join me to discuss some of the most intriguing films of the summer of 21. We'll have all that and more in episode 457 of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. Let's go. All right, and welcome to the latest episode of Keeping It Real with FilmGordon. I am Tim Gordon, joined by Charles Kirkland Jr. Charles, what's going on?
Man, it's weird taping on a Friday. I don't know. I'm good. I think we'll see.
See, the pros never give out days, man. Like black film and TVs. Wilson Morales is a pro's pro. He would never give out what day it is. Wilson, welcome to the show, brother.
It's like Benjamin Button, man. I'm just looking younger and younger every time I see myself. You know, I don't know dates. I don't know dates.
You know what's really funny, man? When we first started having Wilson in the show, Wilson was personality-less. He would just come on, man, go straight to the point. The pandemic comes, Wilson's got his curtain game, he got humor. Wilson, I mean, he has morphed 180 degrees. I'm loving now.
Charles throwing out dates, and I'm like, oh, every day is the same day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. You know, it's weird taping, really, though. All right, man. So
anyway, let's go.
All right, so let's get it started, man.
Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to my niece who's graduated from high school, and today's her prom, and you know, I'm just happy for her. But thank you.
All right,
you know, it would be nice if you say her name. You
know,
like which
Charles, I mean, you might as well go to last. What's her name?
Like the news channels be doing. Oh, we want to give a shout out to, you know, John Doe and Jane Doe and so and so.
Her name is Jaden Boatwright.
Google
okay,
it.
well, we both feel better now that we know, and now that the audience knows as well. So, as I said, before we get started with getting our weekly dose of what's going on with Wilson Morales, I just want to say congratulations to Amazon, who for last week must have heard our show. The deal is final. Wilson Morales, how you feeling about this deal, man? It closed at $8.45 million.
It was great, you know, because I heard that, you know, my twin brother was on last week, and you know, he was trying to throw some shade, and then I heard about it. So like, I'm like, hey, you know, William Morales, you know, so, if you look at last week's show, you could see there's a difference between, you know, he had he didn't have a smile on, you know, it was like, you can tell this.
I'm loving this, right? So in essence, we're not going to rehash. Please listen to last week's show. We did a half an hour on now the number 2 streaming service, Amazon. Scary what's about to go down. So Wilson, what else is going on in entertainment this week, man?
Well, you know, you guys are going to be talking about it later, but you got Cruella that's out, you know, the 101 Dalmatian prequel, you know, starring Oscar winner Emma Stone and Oscar winner Emma Thompson. You know, that's out in theaters right now. In terms of what else is out, you got, you know, the return of A Quiet Place Part 2, which should have come out last year, but Paramount was smart enough to hold it back and decided not to go to the streaming networks, and you know, it's expected to do well during Memorial Day weekend. People want to see something scary and use it as a genre film that brings in people to the theaters. So that's out right now. You know, it's like, you just got to continue, you know, like we're starting to get into the summer season. A lot more films are being shown in theaters. Studios are now telling you no more links. Go to the theaters to start seeing them. I've seen Fast 9 already. You know, that you can talk about down the road. You got the Tribeca Film Festival, which is gearing up to have in-person screenings and events. So that's happening in New York, you know, so like, you know, you still have the TV season that's out there. Plenty of shows coming up, you know, a lot of shows got canceled, a lot of shows got picked up. So there's never a rest in terms of stories that's out there. So, but I think, you know, we hear that, you know, Fast 9 made about $132 million in China alone.
Wow.
Alone, and it doesn't even open up in the United States till I think the 3rd week in June. You know, so like, and it hasn't even played in the majority of other countries like Germany, Japan, or England. So, you know, so already they're gearing up to, you know, to as the catalyst that will bring back people to theaters. So there's a few things that's going on out there.
All righty. And the other thing I want to mention, in addition to what Wilson just talked about, we had the season finale for This Is Us, which I'm not going to ruin it. If you watch the last scene, man, everybody went crazy. Like, wait, what happened? So it's leading into the final season, season 6. This is a show that's won Best Drama from the Emmys and, of course, the Black Reel Awards for television at least twice. So This Is Us, huge event for that. The other thing, I'm going to do a review of it later on, debuted on Netflix a couple of days ago, was Halston. Got a chance to check that out and definitely have some thoughts on that. And finally, the final posthumous album from DMX was released earlier this week. Everybody's buzzing over Bath Salts with Jay-Z, Nas, and DMX on the same track for the first and only time. So check Exodus out. So on this show, we do everything, man. Television, music, film. So with that being said, Charles, go ahead.
I also want to point out that in terms of news, Paramount had announced that they're going to release Antoine Fuqua's latest film, Infinite, onto its streaming platform, Paramount Plus, on June 10th.
Nice.
And that stars Mark Wahlberg and Chiwetel Ejiofor. So it's not going to theaters. It's going straight to Paramount Plus. Nice. Same thing as Universal going to release The Boss Baby Family Business actually in theaters and on Peacock, which is interesting. On Peacock, same day. So wow. now they're trying to utilize its Peacock service. Peacock's never really been known for movies, so that's going to be something interesting to hear about, because usually the last time Universal released an animated film, they released it on demand and made a killing out of it. So right. So who knows what they're doing? And then come up in a few weeks, I believe next week, they're going to have the sequel of The House Next Door, Meet the Blacks 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because I keep seeing the marketing team over there putting fleets up, which I never get a chance to see because they're always gone in 24 hours. I'm like, oh, missed that one. So, but we'll check that out. All right. So that's it, Wilson. You good?
Yeah.
All right, Charles, you got anything before we jump into the summer of 21 movie season other than your niece's prom tonight?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, let's get it started, man. All right. So here we go. And I want to do this chronologically, because instead of just cherry picking movies from August, July, June, and May, let's just jump right in. And I'm going to lead off with, there's a list of like 90 films that are really coming out this summer. I'm going to really focus on some notable titles. So, I'll direct questions to both of you. So I'm going to jump in with our first film. And the first one that I thought was really interesting in the month of June is a film, In the Heights. Now, Wilson, I know you've had a chance to see it. I've reviewed it already on Around Town. Lin-Manuel Miranda's follow-up in his latest. What should people, Wilson, be looking for from this film this summer?
I absolutely love this movie. I'm a fan of musicals. I've seen the Broadway musical, the one that won the Tony Award years ago. It's not always easy to make an adaptation, but when you have the same creative team, which Lin-Manuel and the writing is and so forth, what they've done is expand on what you saw on stage and just give you this magical, visionary, thunderous, film that people will enjoy. And especially, you don't have many films featuring Latinos in lead roles, and Anthony Ramos is going to be a lead star. Leslie Grace, Marissa Barroso, I believe her name is, I could be wrong, Jimmy Smits, and just the songs itself. It's a love letter to Washington Heights in New York City. They shot it in Washington Heights, which is always rare, because a lot of times you shoot on the lot or in Atlanta or somewhere in Hollywood. They they wanted to make it real, so the people who live in the area knows, hey, they shot it in my neighborhood. They used my apartment. Oh, they used the grocery store here. So there's a lot that's worth watching. I think it's going to play in theaters and on HBO Max, but I encourage everybody to see it in theaters, because it deserves big screen treatment.
All right, Charles, we're going to stay on the theory. You was talking about Lin-Manuel Miranda and the whole Latinx and Hispanic film. The next film I want to talk about is Rita Moreno, just the girl who decided to go for it. The Puerto Rican icon. They do a documentary on her life, man. I am really excited for people to finally discover this EGOT winner. West Side Story, Singing in the Rain. She, Electric Company back in the day. Rita Moreno, just a legend, man, in the game.
Yeah. So you're saying I don't get to talk about In the Heights at all? You're going to jump from
Yes, we're jumping because we got a lot of movies and not a lot of time. So just follow along. You'll get a movie and I'll direct one to you. Wilson, don't be trying to jump in on Charles's movies. Go ahead.
All right, so Rita Moreno, I haven't seen the movie, unfortunately, but I have seen In the Heights. But anyway, Moreno is a legend. She worked with Morgan Freeman. I remember watching The Electric Company. We seeing her get her start there. So just to see her, all over the place. It's an exciting movie. It's not the movie I'm really looking forward to seeing this summer, but I will check it out when it comes.
All right, so that's good. So Wilson Morales, next film up, Luca from Pixar Pictures. Looks like an animated version of Call Me by Your Name. Two guys from the sea. Now I'm just saying, man. I'm like, hey, bro, I don't make these descriptions up. A lot of the films that we're going to discuss, we haven't seen. That's why it's called a preview show, not the review show. So Pixar. So let me finish setting it up. Pixar rarely lays an egg. I would say the Cars series are probably the least favorite, but that's it. Everything else that Pixar touches is normally platinum, not gold. Luca, do you think this will continue Pixar's streak?
I don't know what you mean by streak, considering this is going to play not in theaters, only on Disney Plus. And just for anybody out there who saw Call Me by Your Name, this is not this movie. It's not a gay film, so just wanted to put that out there because Tim is throwing, it's like,
I'm reading the description. It says, it looks like an animated kid-friendly version of Call Me by Your Name.
But when you say Call Me by Your Name, most people know what that movie's about.
Hey, so that's why I said do not shoot the messenger. We're doing a preview show. I'm pulling up preview synopsis.
You've been in the game long enough. You should have thought. You were like, is that the film about the two guys? And try explaining that to some parents. Let me see Call Me by Your Name before I let my kids see this movie.
Please direct all hate mail to Wilson Morales. I didn't say anything other than the description.
You did. You're the one who read the description. You should have done better than that.
All right.
Yeah.
So
anyway, Luca is a love letter to the Italian culture, cinema, food, people. It was about these two kids who happen to be, I want to say mermaids, but fish animals. Let people see the movie and they can determine from there. And it's about how they want to live, basically live life. Until they're not discovered as to what their true identities are, but in between that, you're seeing all these references to Italian, culture, including music by Ennio Morricone and other stuff. So it's a shame that, the movie's going to play on Disney Plus, but then again, I think there must be a consensus there that maybe they don't feel that parents are willing to take their kids to the movie theaters in droves.
Yeah.
Which is why I think any movie that is going to play on a streaming channel is going to lose out at the box office. Because including In the Heights, because of the fact that I want to see it. It's on TV. Oh, you don't have to go anywhere. But Luca's worth seeing from what I've seen so far.
All right. So next up is one of the films that I am eagerly looking forward to that I think was a Sundance film that I missed. And I'm still kicking myself, is Zola. Zola looks like it is going to be a super wild ride about a woman in Detroit who hooks up with a good friend who encourages her to go to Florida so they can go strip and make some money. And it's based on a true story of this actress or this woman who had this experience. Charles, have you read anything about Zola? Are you familiar with this film? Because I know Wilson is, so I'm starting with you.
Absolutely. This is a film that was inspired actually by a Twitter thread. And you said it was a true story. Based on a true story, it stars the up-and-coming actress Taylor Page, who was in Boogie, as a Detroit waitress who goes on this odyssey with a friend of hers, and Coleman Domingo's in it. It looks really, from the trailer, it looks really exciting. It's drawing a lot of buzz, like you said, from the Sundance Film Festival where it premiered. So I'm excited about this movie, actually.
All right, so this next one, watch this. I'm gonna throw Wilson a curveball.
July 2nd when it comes out.
This is gonna be a Netflix film with Kevin Hart. Literally is going dramatic in fatherhood, a film around the Father Day holiday about a guy who is raising his daughter after his wife dies. Nobody thinks he can do it. Lil Rel Howery is in the cast. Alfred Wood is in the cast. I'm saying that I'm anxious to see Kevin Hart take on this dramatic role, because we know, and we've seen people like Eddie Murphy, Jamie Foxx, and others who are Will Smith, who are more comedy-based actors who have done an amazing job taking on dramatic performances. Wilson, will Kevin Hart be able to pull this off?
Hopefully so. It's we don't know if it's going to be straight up dramatic. He is still a comedian. So like I'm sure there's going to be moments in there where he's fumbling as to what to do with his daughter, on screen. Whether it's taking her to school, doing her hair, there's going to be moments of laughter there. But hopefully, there's a good percentage of a dramatic story there, and see where it goes. So let's see what happens.
All right. Charles, Samuel L. Jackson, Salma Hayek, and Ryan Reynolds are back in a movie that I happen to enjoy, the original Hitman's Bodyguard. The Hitman's Bodyguard's wife, Salma Hayek, has stepped up. The trailer looks like it's going to be fun. I'm not going to say it's the best film of the summer, but it looks like a good popcorn film where you always have Sam being Sam, Ryan being Ryan, and Salma Hayek, who I love as an actress, is always easy on the eye. Tell me this film is going to work.
It's Ryan Reynolds. It's Salma Hayek. The other day, I just got my son to watch Salma Hayek dancing with a snake. And
Quentin Tarantino's
from Dusk Till Dawn. It's Robert Rodriguez's movie, and so stunning. I just can't wait to see. And even in the first movie, she was incredible and a lot of out of character from what she usually plays. So I think this is, like you said, it's going to be a great popcorn movie, something to watch and have fun with. I don't expect it to do well in the theaters, but it should do well enough where, because it's Ryan Reynolds and Samuel Jackson, Salma Hayek. So how can you really go wrong?
No, I got you. So, and without giving out a review, Wilson, our final film that we want to look at in the month of June is going to be F9, the Fast and Furious. I haven't seen this thing yet. I've seen all the other ones. So I have an idea of what to expect. That there's going to be lots of what I call auto ridiculousness. It's not even remotely about driving cars anymore. It's about high stunts. You've seen it already without reviewing it, Wilson. Give us some sort of an overview on what audiences need or will be seeing when they see F9.
Here's the way I see it. I live in New York, and when you're riding a train, there are 10 cars that make up a train. And if you're riding on the first car and you continue to just ride it out, that's all I can say is, hey, this is the 9th film in a franchise. featuring the core players. There aren't that many franchises. I can't think of any that's stretched out close to 20 years with the core cast. You can't say James Bond because they've had different actors. You can't say Star Wars because, you know, basically they only did 3 or 4 together, but not consistently. You know, really, maybe you could say Saw if you go Tobin Bell, you know. In terms of look what, you know, the Fast movies have grown over time, and nobody, it gets to a point where like, we don't care about the plot as much as you want to take it to another worldly level. We just want to see the cars. We want to see action. We want to see fight scenes. Every now and then they throw in a big name star like a Helen Mirren in there, Charlize Theron. Oh, they're in the mix of it. You know, if you've enjoyed the first 8, you might as well stick it out for the rest of the ride.
All right, well, I'm going to stick it out for the rest of the ride. I realize there's going to be moments I'm going to go, oh, no, they didn't. It happens every F9 or every Furious movie, man. So, Charles, this next movie I want to talk about, you remember 25 years ago when Will Smith launched the July 4th holiday with Independence Day, right? So every time on 4th of July, we needed to have these big blockbusters. Well, this year we seem to have gotten a return to that with the Amazon Prime, The Tomorrow War, a story of human beings in the present who have futuristic visitors who come back and tell them and enlist people from the present to go to the future to help fight a war to ensure that humanity will survive. I don't know if you've seen the trailer for this. It looks really, really intense. And the fact that they got Star-Lord from the Marvel Universe to lead the assault, I think it works for me. What about you?
Chris Pratt has the opportunity to be the first person to be the lead in 3 different franchises: Guardians of the Galaxy, Jurassic World, and now this one. This one, it looks pretty special. So it's kind of scary that it's just on Amazon, but you know, if it was given a movie theater treatment, I'm sure that this would be the July 4th blockbuster that we haven't had in a long time. It's a sci-fi thriller, of course, as you said. Yvonne Strahovski from Chuck and the Passenger. What's it called? Anyway,
the Passengers.
Huh?
You talking about when Chris Pratt and
No. Well, I'm talking about the TV show that she's done with as the airline stewardess. But anyway, okay. She's in it. J.K. Simmons, who's in everything, is in this as well. So it's got a great cast. The sci-fi looks really good. So this could be his 3rd blockbuster, his 3rd franchise.
No, I got you. Now, Wilson, we've all been indoctrinated with the story of Woodstock and all of that huge lineup of Jimi Hendrix and Jefferson Starship and a whole bunch of others who appeared there. Questlove is releasing a documentary, and I don't know what the name. I don't have it on top of my head. The name of the festival that happened in Harlem in 1969. But everybody from Stevie Wonder, Gladys Knight and the Pips, Sly and the Family Stone, and a host of others are going to be in Summer of Soul. I know you've had a chance to see this already. I don't want the review, but just preview and explain to audiences what's going on with this documentary, which I think is one of the most anticipated of the summer.
Well, you know, as you mentioned, you know, over 50 years ago, you know, there was Woodstock, and then there was Summer of Soul, a collection of Black musicians coming to Harlem, performing on stage, and it was videotaped. And whatever, I don't know, you could have to ask or dig deep why no network, and at the time there were only 3, would take on these videos to showcase. You know, Questlove, who, you know, the powers that he has gathered up the best videos, the best, you know, musical performances, and added it on there, you know, to showcase, like, listen, while you guys were out there, we were here. And to see Gladys Knight, you know, Stevie Wonder, you there's a number of musicians out there that we're familiar with. We are well familiar with. It's an amazing tribute. It's like going to a concert all over again just to see these performances. So hopefully it plays on a big screen. I know usually documentaries don't garner that much attention, but this is one that people should definitely check out.
All right, so the actual festival was called the Harlem Cultural Festival in 1969, and it was the third annual Harlem Cultural Festival. So Nina Simone, it's funny because now I understand what video I'm looking at. I would go to see Nina Simone when you put Nina Simone live and they would show her performing. That was at the Harlem Cultural Festival. So you're right. I think along with Amazing Grace, Wilson, which is we saw at the New York Film Fest a couple of years ago, there have been a lot of these sorts of documentaries that have been put together with what we call this lost or found footage that was recorded 40, 50 years ago that people thought that would never see the light of day. Summer of Soul is clearly another one, and I'm glad that those performances will surface. It'd be interesting to see Stevie Wonder in 1969. I'm looking forward to it, man. So up next, I want to talk to Charles about the latest film from Marvel, the first film since the pandemic, not counting what they've done on Disney Plus, but the first in-theater film is Black Widow. I think Black Widow, which initially has been pushed back, I would say 2 or 3 times, that was supposed to have been released in its latest iteration in May. And then they pushed it back a couple more months, which I think is in hindsight now is smart, because by the time that movie drops in theaters, people should be, both of you guys would agree that people would be back in the theaters by mid-July. Am I correct?
I believe so. And I think the thing that has helped the most is that the TV show Loki will also be concluding just about the time that the film comes out in the theaters, July 9th. They've also had WandaVision and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier to keep people's appetites wet. But this is what we're looking forward to. This is the big movie of the summer now that we got a big action. Besides F9, you got a big action film that actually plays into this Marvel universe somehow. This is a prequel to stuff that happened in Endgame and all that stuff, because we know what happened to Black Widow. But you got Florence Pugh, who's coming into the show. So who knows? It's going to be interesting to see how because Marvel always has a plan. So everyone's going to see this to see how this is actually going to work in the grand scheme of things.
Okay. I'm watching you, but I'm watching Wilson. Wilson, please tell me you tired and that you're not high right now, just nodding in the middle.
No. I actually put drops in my eyes earlier, but it's still affecting me. So I'm trying to not be so obvious with my eyes, left and forth.
I'm sorry, man. This is what I'm saying. Because people are gonna watch this. I'm like, man, wake up, Wilson.
If I was nodding off, I'd be like this. I'll pull Morgan Freeman. Remember that one?
I do remember that one.
Remember that? If I was going off, to the audience, I'm not sleeping. I'm wide awake. You hear me now. Say.
No, all right. Well, up next, and I definitely wanted to get Wilson's feedback on this. A family goes on vacation to the beach and suddenly discovers they're in the middle of an M. Night Shyamalan movie. And to me, that was the best written description, because this guy, I've never had the opportunity to meet or interview M. Night, but I swear to you, if I ever meet him, I just want to look at him and go, I just want to be inside your head for a minute. Like what? Because his latest film, Old, I don't know if this movie's going to be good. And I have been let down by M. Night Shyamalan concepts, that I thought were going to be good. Man, I'm telling you, Old as a concept is just creepy to me. Wilson, is it just me? Or, is M. Night still got some tricks in the bag, man?
It's just you hate, Now, here's the thing about M. Night Shyamalan. He's one of those directors that, he's going to you have to stick around for the entire movie because there's always a twist. And in the beginning of his career, he was flying high. Sixth Sense, signs. And then it got to the point where like, fool me once, not twice, and then he stumbled a little bit, but then he started to come back, people started, he was executive producing movies, and then he got back behind the scene. And then I think I forgot the one with Samuel Jackson, where he reprised his character from Split, and so like, you kind of need that. It's like, he's going to throw it at you. The question is how, so you got to look forward towards it, so yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing it, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about all these movies out here, which are the ones that you're really going to go see? Remember, the average person's not seeing all these movies. They're going to pick out the ones that they're being intrigued when they see the trailer on TV or on the web, that hopefully they don't have to stay home, because any movie that's playing on streaming channels, I'm sorry, it's going to be, you're going to be at a loss, because you're not going to be able to gain that traction from being at the box office and getting that Monday morning. You were the number one at the box office, and everybody's going to report about it, and people will talk about, oh, did you go see this? Oh, let me go check it out. And great, I understand people have a hesitation to go into theaters, but I think if you're fully vaccinated, you feel you can tack on a lot more things.
All right. So, okay, Charles, for you, man, up next, man. Matt Damon is the father who works on an oil rig, has his only daughter go over to Europe and France, particularly. She is arrested for murder, and he has to be a one-man guy who goes over there, not Liam Neeson style, or even in this case, Jason Bourne, which is the irony of this story to me, is that what he needed to be was Jason Bourne in this story. But this is from Tom McCarthy, who did Spotlight. So it's a dramatic film about a father doing what he needs to do to try to free his daughter in a foreign country. Charles, to Wilson's point, they're going to be audience members who aren't going to see all these movies in the theater. Now, we will have an opportunity because of what we do. I'm not sure what the prospects of Stillwater in theaters will be. I do think it'll be a movie that potentially might find an audience on streaming service. Am I right or am I wrong about this film?
It's late July and there's not much going on in the movie world. So, I mean, somebody might want to watch it, but it's loosely based on the Amanda Knox story. And it's really, like you said, a drama, and it can be a little deceptive because, like you said, people are thinking that this is going to be like Jason Bourne or whatever, but it's not. It's not. And so I wonder why you picked this movie, because I want to talk about the other movie, and I don't know. Anyway, but Stillwater, I don't think it's gonna. It's okay. It's gonna be an R-rated or R-rated.
I'm doing this on purpose, man, because if I let you talk about the stuff you want to talk about, y'all all would talk about the same stuff. So I want to cover a wide swath of movies, even if we don't have a lot of stuff to say about it, just to get it out into people's minds that these are some of the titles that people need to look forward to this summer. And having said that, watch this. Go ahead.
I think the most exciting thing about the movie is how long can he hold the Oklahoma accent?
Wow. Well, that is shade right there. Damn. And having said that, let me see how shady this next comment will be, because again, almost 25 years ago, Michael Jordan, just for fun, made a film called Space Jam. LeBron, who wants to be like Mike, does Space Jam 2. I understand why the folks would make this, because it's for a new generation of people, and LeBron James is now the new Michael Jordan in some people's eyes. Clearly not a movie I think they needed to make. I've been wrong before. I have a get off my lawn mentality when it comes to movies. Old man, get off my lawn mentality. Wilson Morales, tell the audience why Space Jam 2, A New Legacy, will bring families back into the theater in July for LeBron James and basketball hijinks.
One, it's directed by Malcolm D. Lee, who brought us Girls Trip, so like, that doesn't say a lot, especially when you're doing like a hybrid. Right. Girls Trip was a funny movie, but this is a hybrid animation of, adult film. It's got LeBron James, but if the Lakers don't win the championship, people are like, I ain't supporting him anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So it all hinges on how far LeBron goes, you know, because if he wins, like, oh, I'm feeling him, you know, let's see him in this role, you know, or should he just be like Jay-Z, like, dude, do not act anymore, you know?
Wow.
Like, and so like, no, but it's Bugs Bunny. You got to remember, at the end of the day, Space Jam is not played on TV on a regular basis. Not a lot of people remember it like that. You know, it's like it's 25 years later. It's this new film is for a new generation.
All right, and looking at Charles's face because he just saw the movie we're gonna talk about next. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is a huge star. You know, if you watch Young Rock and a lot of other movies he's made, Hobbs and Shaw. Again, another movie that I understand why they make them, because it's all about Disney and that universe wanting to tap into things that they've already done. Jungle Cruise, you know, I just wanted to put it out there that it's coming out this summer. It's got The Rock in it. Other than that, I
talk about shade. Wow.
Charles, I mean, no. I'm a realist, man, because again, I'm 30 years in this. Wilson, you like 25. You trying to maintain this level of innocence about these movies. Come on, bro. These movies are basically what they are, man. You know what I'm saying? Jungle, what do you got on Jungle Cruise, Charles?
All I can say really, truly is that, hey, it's Disney. We didn't think Pirates of the Caribbean, when it was coming out, was going to be much of anything. And it turned into a successful franchise that kind of resurrected the career of Johnny Depp. Now we got The Rock, who's a bigger star, and Emily Blunt, who's a huge star. I'm not saying that this is going to be a franchise down the road, but I mean, it's Disney, so how can you go wrong? I mean, how many movies is Disney putting out this summer? I don't know. We're at the third one by them now already, right? So I mean, you know, it is what it will be what it will be.
All righty. Well, you know, that movie comes out in the month of July, and now I'm jumping ahead to August. And Wilson Morales. Will Smith was in, Will Smith is gone. Idris Elba steps into Will Smith's spot. All the rest of the gang is back as DC's entertainment their universe is releasing the Suicide Squad. You know, again, like I said, man, I'm a little, it's not that I'm hating. I'm just saying, I'm being a realist. Marvel has stamped themselves in this space. And I see DC, which doesn't have a plan. They keep just willy-nilly putting these movies out there. I'm like, okay, help me, Wilson. I mean, you know, am I missing something as it relates to this? I mean, we get our girl Viola Davis back. We get, as I said, Idris in this one. You got Harley Quinn, my girl, coming back. Suicide Squad. Is this going to make any noise in theaters in August?
Yes, I think, you know, I think you got people out there that's like, you know, I wasn't a fan so much of the first movie. I thought it was like, what are we seeing here? You know, but nevertheless, they did enough to warrant a follow-up, not a sequel, so much follow-up. And to correct you, Idris Elba is not replacing Will Smith because they're playing different characters. He just happens to be the new black guy in the movie. you know, and so like we got Viola Davis back, Margot Robbie. You know, judging for the trailer, I see it as a dark dramedy in a way. You know, so hopefully it has something that appeals to the DC universe. Otherwise, we're gonna be like, wow, what a stinker this is. But hopefully not. You know, I'm always worried when you have a lot of names in a movie. You know, it's like it's either a hit or a miss. There's no in between.
All right, so we got a couple more movies left, man. And you know, out of respect for both of y'all, I'm gonna let both of y'all probably get some run on this next one. We saw a couple months ago they did the documentary, or actually it wasn't a documentary, the limited series, Aretha Genius, right? So you had 8 hours of Aretha Franklin with Cynthia Erivo in the title role and Courtney B. Vance playing her father. This time around, in respect, we get Oscar winner Jennifer Hudson. We get Oscar nominee Courtney B. Vance. Or has he been an Oscar nominee? Okay. We get Courtney B. Vance in this film with Marlon Wayans. I want to say that the trailer of this kind of puts me in a Ray kind of a mindset, but by virtue that the timing that we've seen 8 hours of Aretha Franklin no less than 2 months ago, will that work for this film or will it detract from it a little bit? Charles, I'll start with you.
I think it's going to work. I think the big thing for respect is that we're going to hear music, and that also Jennifer is singing. So hopefully it's going to be a much better attempt at portraying the life of Aretha, because again, she's the Queen of Soul. But what's it like to talk about the Queen of Soul without playing her music? And I think that was what was kind of missing from Genius, was the music. So hopefully this time it'll work, and Jennifer Hudson could be in line for another an award here after this performance.
I don't know, Wilson Morales, what are you thinking?
One, to correct you first, it's not Courtney B. Vance, it's Forrest Whitaker.
No, I was saying Courtney B. Vance was in Genius.
Okay,
but it's Forrest Whitaker. You're correct. Forrest Whitaker is in the other one. But thank you for that, because if I'm wrong, let me know.
So you have Jennifer Hudson, you got Forrest Whitaker, you got Mary J. Blige, and you got an assortment of other good thespians in this movie. And we can't assume that everybody saw Genius Aretha. Some people did, but not everybody. And what you're gonna get here is, probably the same tale. The question is, from what we saw in that 8-hour version, how much of it will be left out in a 2-hour version? But, you just want to get the essence. This movie was supposed to come out last fall in the hopes that MGM would have the reviews and the money to promote Jennifer for an Oscar nomination. And they also wanted to make money, which is why they pulled it and decided to come out this summer, in August, within time that hopefully if theaters are back, people will come out to the theaters and see it. I think once they show one scene or a clip of Jennifer singing one of the songs, people will say, okay, let me start saving my money. I think it can do well. I think, they're setting it up. I think Jennifer could probably be the first person that we're talking about as far as nominations. Not saying that she win, but she's probably going to be the first one that gets that buzz.
All right. Well, I thought Wilson Morales would come and put a happy spin on it from Black Film and TV at the end. So that worked out pretty well. Now, the only other movie left that we didn't talk about, which is a personal thing that I really want to see, is the documentary on Alvin Ailey, because I've been going to see Alvin Ailey American Dance faithfully for like the last 25 years. So to see a documentary about the founder and probably one of the most important artists in that space. We talked earlier about Summer of Soul and some of the other documentaries, Rita Moreno's documentary. Ailey is one. Have you had a chance to see that yet, Wilson?
Yes, I have. It's really good. I think, I used to go to Ailey shows, and then I stopped because I got to a point where I was like, I didn't know dances, and you start seeing, I'm sitting out there and I'm like, I don't get it. They're just moving, it's like, I don't know.
Wow. Well, it's funny you would say that, Wilson. Yeah, I remember back in the day, I used to see Dance Theater Harlem, and then I would see Alvin Ailey, and I was like, nah, I'm not a big fan of DTH. But I get it.
I said, is that the new dance, Repercussions? It's like, no, it's Reparations. I don't know what the name of the dances are, not to throw shade.
Are you talking about the most iconic? It's what did you call it? Reparations? I'm sorry.
I'm not calling you shame. This is
he called Alvin Ailey's classic work Reparations.
Look, I've seen.
It's called Revelations, man. What's wrong with you?
I've seen the film as well, Revelations. And to be honest, I've never seen an Alvin Ailey show. I've never been. That's not my area. So I found the film to be informational and educational and actually pretty intriguing. I thought it was interesting to watch and understand the moves and what they meant. And so, yeah, it's a good movie. I don't know how it's going to be received. I mean, we can talk about, and the funny thing is we talked about Black trauma over the last year or two of all of these movies that have just been beating us over the head with all these trauma. We got a number of good movies coming out that are joyful, and this is one of those movies that's actually a little joyous. So we need to be promoting it. So.
Yeah, I got you. All right, so Wilson, we about to let you go, man, because it's gonna be time for us to do reviews. But before we let you get out of here, man, because I know you got to run and do some other stuff that we won't discuss. Where can people read and follow the content that you put out on a daily basis online?
You can go to blackfilmandtv.com. You can go to, find it on the Facebook, Twitter, IG, some of the stuff. Not everything's on IG, but some of it's on there. And that's where you can find my stuff at. Always trying to say as much as I can regarding what's going to be on film, TV, and even theater.
A dude called Revelations of Reparations. Wow.
Now, just for the record, I do have an alter ego named William, and sometimes he makes mistakes. I do want to apologize for him. So like it is Revelations. I think William was like, he's like that Gizmo. It's reparations. No, it's not.
Charles, you watching this, man?
I think you watched Cruella one too many times.
It's like, you look at the side like, stop.
All right, bro. Well, you enjoy your holiday weekend, man. We'll get up with you next week, bro, with more show.
Right,
Take care, Wilson. All right, and of course, that is Wilson Morales, man, from Black Film and TV, the man who always blames every mistake on his alter ego, which I find to be very interesting, man. All right, Charles, like back in the day when we were doing this show, when we were in studio at DC Radio, this would be the time that we would do film reviews, and this week I have two. Since I haven't prepped you, clearly back in the day, I'd go, Charles, man, give me the script so I can read. So I'm just going to freestyle it today, man. Every week when we're about to take on movie reviews, we tell you guys that you can always follow us at thefilmgordon.com, where our motto is God, Charles, what is it? Looking at film through the eyes of a true film addict. I don't know why I'm asking you because I made it up. So this week, there are two movies that I want to spotlight. And a spoiler alert, neither of them are A Quiet Place 2 because for whatever reason, they keep putting movies in another state. And I'm not really prepared to travel to another state to watch these movies. And when I say another state, I'm not talking about Maryland because I live in Maryland. But I'm not prepared to go into the Commonwealth to go watch movies, man. So they keep putting these screenings over in the Commonwealth. Hence, I'm not going to see these movies unless I have to pay for them. But the two movies that I want to talk about today, one, of course, is Cruella. The second one is Halston, which is a 5-part Netflix series. And I think that's the one I want to start with today. And Halston, I'll just say, but I'll give a more longer form review in a second. But Halston is the story of a man who leverages his single invented name into a worldwide fashion empire that is synonymous with luxury, sex, status, and fame, literally defining the era. The film stars Ewan McGregor in the title role, Rebecca Dayon, David Patutu, and trying to think of what the other guy, Bill Pulliam, from Independence Day and some of these other films, also stars in Halston. And, basically, Charles, watching this film, man, being a guy that grew up in that era and remembered a lot of that stuff, I think Ewan McGregor, who I don't think gets enough credit as an actor, man. I mean, this is a guy we've been watching, 20, 30 years we've been watching Ewan McGregor, man. McGregor has been doing work. We've seen him in big budget stuff like Star Wars. We've seen him in smaller films. Ewan McGregor has done Train Spotting? Is that Ewan McGregor as well?
Yes.
I mean, Ewan McGregor as an actor is good, but he really kind of jumps into this role as this fashion icon, this man that we see from a small child up until his death in 1990, and all of his foibles and everything in between. The disco era with Studio 54. This is a film from Ryan Murphy, man, who's done everything from Hollywood last year. What is Ryan Murphy's? Is it
American Horror Story?
American Horror Story. So Ryan Murphy really gets the details down. I thought this film was let me say film. I thought this limited series was really, really well done. And as I said, it was a 5-parter that I really think is what I call a snapshot project. And, you've heard me use that phrase before, Charles. When you watch stuff that puts you or transports you back to a time. The movie starts off with a young Halston, like in the early 1960s, I think around 61. And I think it kind of plateaus maybe 25 years later, around 1986, 87. But inside of that, I think Ewan McGregor, we see him play Halston. He has the look down, all of the details. They've even gone in and redid commercials that Halston did when he was working with JCPenney. The Studio 54 stuff. The other piece is that Liza Minnelli, there's a relationship between Halston and Liza Minnelli that kind of takes place throughout like the large portions of the film. And the woman that they got to play Liza Minnelli, I want to say, let me see if that is the actress whose name I gave you earlier. She is really, really good as Liza Minnelli, man. She is great playing that role. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Krista Rodriguez is playing Liza Minnelli. She is very good, man. So between her and Ewan McGregor, I think that those two stand out. Rebecca Dayan plays another character, Elsa Peretti. So this is all based on people who are really in his life. Victor Hugo, that relationship going back and forth. Megan Girard plays Beth Ann Hardison, the model, Kadeem Hardison's mother. So Halston, I really liked. Of course, it's a bummer of an ending because you know what's coming. But I would give Halston a B. If you get an opportunity this weekend, I would highly recommend you stream this miniseries or this limited series. It's 5 parts. I think it's very good. You should check that out. Charles, have you had a chance? Oh, go ahead.
Is it coming out episodically, or is it all dropping at one time where somebody can watch it?
No, you know how Netflix, man. Netflix drops their stuff, man. They put the whole season on there, man. So you don't ever have to worry about doing it. It is in episodes, but it's an episode that you can watch it. It's designed for you to binge watch it. So I think Halston, I would highly recommend. We started watching it last night as a fluke and couldn't turn it off. I was like, yikes, this is pretty good. All right. So next up, Charles, is Cruella. And I know you had a chance to see this too. So I'm going to start first with this. Of course, this is a prequel to 101 Dalmatians, which people have seen it as an animated version and then back in 1996 with Glenn Close as Cruella. Emma Stone this time takes on the mantle of Cruella de Vil, based on Dodie Smith's 1956 novel, The 101 Dalmatians. And as I said earlier, Disney's 1961 animated film adaptation. This film is directed by Craig Gillespie with a screenplay by Dana Fox and Tony McNamara. It's the 3rd live action adaptation of the 101 Dalmatians franchise. Emma Stone stars as the title character with Emma Thompson, Joel Fry, Paul Walter Hauser, Emily Beecham, Kirby Howard Baptiste, and Mark Strong in supporting roles. And this film, which is set in the 1970s London punk rock movement, shows Estella as an aspiring fashion designer who explores the path that will lead her to becoming a notorious criminal known as Cruella de Vil. Now, go ahead. So, wait a minute. Before I get started, go ahead.
Criminal?
Again, I'm reading. Set in 1970s London punk rock movement as Estella, an inspiring fashion designer who explores the path that will lead her, as is written by the studio, to becoming a notorious criminal known as Cruella de Vil. Okay, second time in this show, you guys are giving me grief. I'm not writing this stuff. I am reading this stuff.
Okay.
No, okay. So now, before I get started, I'm just going to be transparent. I didn't see 101 Dalmatians either in 1996 nor in 1961. So I come to Cruella with what I call fresh, unfiltered eyes, right? Non-jaded eyes, right? So again, this reminds me of the look that you're giving me is the look that I used to get from colleagues in the early 2000s when we were in the middle of watching all of these comic book adaptations. And I was like, dude, I never read the comic books. And like, so you don't understand. I don't understand. So I'm just watching the movie and reviewing the movie without having the backstory. Now, well, I will also be transparent and say that a couple of nights ago, I sat down and I finally watched 101 Dalmatians. And after watching Cruella, the tone of 1996 101 Dalmatians didn't necessarily work for me, but I do understand a lot of what the story led up to that watching Cruella, if that makes any sense, Charles. Okay. Now, this film to me, I will just simply say that it seemed like I was watching, it was made in the style of what they did with Joker a couple of years ago, right? Where you have a story about the kind of an origin story of what we look at as an anti-hero, right? In that film, the only issue that I would have that's different from Cruella is that Cruella is somebody who's redeemable by the end of the film versus Joker, who has just gone, you know, what's his name? Arthur Fleck. Yeah, Arthur just goes in an entirely different direction to become like this monster by the end of Joker. Where in Cruella, which is really interesting because when I watch 101 Dalmatians and I see what Glenn Close has done with Cruella, it's clear that the paths that we're not looking at the same Cruella in 2021 that we're looking at in 1996. But as I said, I think that there was a lot that I liked in this film, and I saw that a lot of my colleagues were just tearing this movie up, and they were like, "Oh, I don't like this movie. I don't like the tone." And I think it speaks largely to what people are used to from what they remember last when they watched this film back in 1996, what Glenn Close did with it, and then the rewrite and the reimagining of the character in 2021. So now we have, instead of her, you know, she loses her mother in this kind of freaky accident. Her father hasn't been there in this story. She's an orphan, and she kind of meets up with two other orphans who are young grifters that are kind of stealing to survive. She moves in with them, but she has aspirations to, as I said earlier, to being a fashion designer, or an illustrator, or an artist, or a designer. And they take her in. She's doing these grifts, and she goes to work under the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson, who I thought was really deliciously evil in this story, right? She, to me, is Cruella de Vil without being Cruella de Vil the way Glenn Close played her in 96. So she goes on, she uncovers some secrets about her backstory that tie her and the Baroness together, and leads this campaign in what I call a very multi-layered story that doesn't make her out to be a monster by the third act of this film. At least I didn't think she was. And, you know, even with end scenes or mid scenes toward the end of the film, they kind of set up the sequel, which takes us back to 1996, 101 Dalmatians. I like this movie. I mean, I didn't really have a problem with it. As I said, I drew a lot of parallels between Joker. Maleficent was another anti-hero story that I saw with this film. I gave this film a B. I really thought that, you know, what I liked about it is I thought Emma Stone and the tone that the director set up for this film, I thought it worked quite well, and it was better than I expected. I didn't expect Cruella to be much of anything. I was pleasantly surprised. Charles, what did you think about this film?
Well, I'm a Disney purist, and so when a lot of people refer to the 96 version of 101 Dalmatians, it doesn't do it for me. I always refer to the 61 version of the animated version. And to me, I think this version of Cruella works better, leads better into the the animated version, than the one that Glenn Close did. I really enjoyed it. I thought the tone was great, actually, being set in the 70s with the punk rock scene and the music. The music is outstanding in this film. I mean, you didn't mention it, but all the Stones, everything in there is incredible. And I think by the time Sympathy for the Devil plays, you're like, oh, this is genius. The soundtrack is just awesome. I gave it a B+ for Cruella. I think the interplay between the Emmas was delicious. Emma Stone is just fantastic, and I mean, she's playing two roles in this film, and so it's and I mean, it's like the old generation versus the new generation, and one time you see where her face, that she has the future on it, and it really is the future. It kind of foreshadowing, because in the end, Cruella becomes more like the Baroness for obvious reasons now. And so I thought it was very good. I thought it explained a lot about how Cruella got to be, and that made sense. And I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Well, as I said earlier, and I'm glad you did, man. I'm always curious because I've learned to trust my own gut when I have an opinion about things that I watch. But I also understand that it's all based on, as you heard me say earlier, what people consider to be the canon of a character or a story, right? So if you like the tone of 1996, the tone of 2021 is not going to work for you. If you are a fan of 1961, the tone in this film may not work for you. So for me, that's why I prefaced it by saying that I didn't see the 1996 version of 101 Dalmatians until after I saw Cruella. And then I was like, it was played kind of over the top by Glenn Close for me. But I mean, I get what they were doing. Probably at that time, that's probably the most sophisticated special effects or most sophisticated hair and makeup we had at that time. We have now moved into an era where we are able to do a lot more visually on screen. So I totally get it, but I'm glad you like that. And I think we need to get back now, Charles, as we are now seeing the opening up of more theaters and more film experiences. And we're going to be talking a lot more about movies that were delayed last year. And, we have these huge schedules, like this huge summer schedule. It's probably about over 120 movies being released in the next 3 months, man. So it's going to be nuts at the box office right now. But Charles, as you said earlier, by spoiling it, of giving out our record day, this is a good feeling, man. I want you to have a wonderful holiday weekend, man. There's a lot to watch, man. You heard Wilson say earlier about over in China, the F9 numbers are going through the roof. We talked a little bit about the merger talks that are coming up. So MGM is getting ready to be thrust back into the game. Netflix has a full slate of films. Like I told you earlier, when all of this broke, Universal, I see now you're trying to use Peacock. You got to step your streaming game up, because you're gonna get lost in alerts. Warner Brothers has HBO Max. Fox has now been absorbed by Disney. MGM has been absorbed by Amazon. This reminds me when I was a kid, when I would go to the kids' birthday parties and they play musical chairs. You don't want to be the last dude standing without a place to sit, Universal. So,
it's all the future. It's all the future.
It's all the future, man. As the tie back to Cruella, it's all the future. So, of course, that is our look back this week at Cruella and Halston. Did you have anything that you wanted to get out of recommendations before we get out the door?
I'm going to say, if you haven't gone to see A Quiet Place, you need to go see A Quiet Place. It's a big movie this weekend. I remember the original Quiet Place and how everybody in the theater, and that's the reason why it's in the theaters, is because this is a theatrical experience. And I think they did very well with the sequel. It's not as good as the original, but it's close. It's very close.
Got it. All right. So as we tell you guys in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. Charles, thanks, man. As always, you're doing yeoman's work. You're doing your thing. You take care, man. Enjoy your weekend, brother.
You too.
All right. Take care, man.